Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn at Work session. Today we're going to tackle a very tough subject, food and mood, how food affects your mood and how your mood affects what you want to eat. This session is brought to you by the Get Moving, Get Healthy New Jersey Workforce Program and funded by the New Jersey Prevention Network. Well, what do you want to know about this? What influences what you eat? This can be a very daunting subject, and there's lots of details in this presentation. So you may want to walk through it the first time and then go back and take your time and try to absorb the information a little more. But basically, what influences what you eat is your mood, various food cravings. Everybody out there has had food cravings at one time or another. Your energy level has a lot to do with the types of food that you're craving. If you're feeling kind of blue, down in the dumps, that also has an impact on what you might be craving or wanting to eat. Stress is a huge influencer on what you eat. And also, your sleep-wake cycle has something to do with it as well. So let's get into this a little bit more. Here's where the complexity of it comes in. In your brain, you have various nerve cells, and neurons are messages that are sent back and forth through your system. And these messages are what regulate things such as your memory, your appetite, mental function, your movement, and your wake sleep cycle. Too little of the transmitter has an effect on our physical, emotional, and mental processes. Our food preferences and cravings and desires are hardwired into our brain. So let's take a little bit closer look to see what that actually means. There are a variety of vitamins and minerals that help to make the neurotransmitters do what they need to do. So you can see the list here includes B vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin E, iron, selenium, and magnesium. If your diet does not include these types of nutrients, guess what? You'll feel grumpy and out of sorts, and you won't be able to think straight. Well, this is definitely not going to help you get through your day, is it? But if you correct these nutrients in your diet, then you can improve your mood and even improve your thinking. So, if you overconsume fats in your diet, or you restrict carbohydrates in your diet, then you begin to create some imbalances. And these have a profound effect on how you're feeling, on your mood. They contribute to depression, irritability. They also control the types of food you're craving and mood swings too. And what about this? Trying to solve problems and memory loss. So, for example, if you were trying to complete a complex puzzle and you had too much fat in your diet, this could have an effect on your thinking process when you're trying to complete the puzzle. You need some nutrients to have a very normally developed nervous system. And we need to include these nutrients in the diets of children at a young age so that their brain does develop the way it should and their mental function increases and improves as they age, as they get older. So here's what we have. Protein. We know that's really important in our diet. We need zinc, vitamin B6, and also B12. We need iodine and folic acid in our diet. Now, you've heard about these in the news. So these vitamins and nutrients are not something you've never heard of before, but you may not have put together their connection with the function of your brain. Okay, let's take it for example. If you eat sweets, what happens in your brain? Because there is a trigger that happens in your brain and it creates a series of events. If you eat sweets, you will feel very rewarded at the time of your eating it. It's something like a comfort food for many people. But when you eat it, it actually wants you to crave more sweets. So, to keep that from happening, you want to eat snacks that are rich in complex carbohydrates and foods that are low in calories and fat. You want to eat foods that are high in vitamins and minerals. So, when you start craving, it's probably the worst time to start grabbing for the junk foods. What about protein? If you have a lot of protein in your diet, your blood levels will increase, but that also increases the levels in your brain as well. And something called dopamine, you've probably heard this word before, is created in the brain. And then dopamine is stored in the nerve cells and it helps vitamin C, and then together they are converted to norepinephrine. People feel more alert and energetic when this process begins to happen. So, what about if you have a lot of carbohydrates in your diet? Well, you get to have a buildup or a storage of sugar, which is glycogen, and your blood sugars actually drop after a while. And your brain says, hey, wow, what's happening here? My blood sugar is dropping. And what happens is you end up with a desire to consume a carbohydrate rich snack or a meal. So, this is why in the morning you generally crave a breakfast that is high in carbohydrates, maybe with cereal, pancakes, toast, or bagels. Did you realize that all that is the result of what's happening in your brain? What about stress and sweets? We all deal with stress every day, and the way we deal with it, our coping strategies are very important. And some people want to reach for sweets when they are stressed. Well, again, your brain kicks in and says, hey, what's happening here? You start to have more of the neurotransmitters are created. But what happens is your serotonin levels in your brain decrease. So your body actually wants to feel calmer when you have more carbohydrates because they boost the serotonin level in your diet. But that only happens for a short time. What happens when you're feeling down in the dumps or you have the blues? Many people will say they crave cookies, ice cream, candy, and a whole variety of sweets. Well, stress does increase that craving for those carbohydrate rich foods. And for some people, eating sweets tends to reduce the cause of a never ending cycle of craving carbohydrates, which means you'll want to have more sweets and you'll crave more carbohydrates and you'll want to have more sweets. And what happens is you may have consumed an excessive amount of calories by allowing this to happen in your body. What about complex carbohydrates? They are actually a very good fuel for our body. These are the most efficient fuels that we can have for our body. And they help to keep your blood sugar level at an even keel. They also, when combined with protein and fat, help to create the balanced diet. So you do need complex carbohydrates in your diet, but they have to be balanced with protein and fat. So, what about fat? If a person is on a restrictive diet and eating less fat than they need, then ghrelin is released from the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus really controls a lot of what is happening in your brain. Then the more fat you eat. So, isn't this a vicious cycle? If a person desires and consumes the fatty foods, like chocolate, potato chips, salad dressings, then their body actually wants to eat more fatty foods. So it's a cycle. You're triggering your body to have more ice cream, burgers, and other types of fatty foods. It's a vicious cycle, and too many people get caught up in this cycle. So let's get back to sweets again. If you have something sweet like ice cream or cake, your endorphin levels stay elevated. But what happens is as your endorphin levels are elevated, your body wants more sweets. So you're craving sweets again. So you're getting back into that vicious cycle. Um, some women do, pregnant women or women who are suffering from premenstrual stress, also have a craving for foods. And it's the combination in their body of progesterone and endorphins that are making that happen. What about the mood swings? Up and down. Well, your body will have mood swings if you skip breakfast or you skip other meals, or if you eat meals that are too high in protein. We're talking about fast food here most of the time. If you're eating too much sweets or having too much sugar in your diet, you're going to put yourself on a mood swing. If you don't get enough water and fluid every day, you're back on the roller coaster again. You need to be diligent about eating regular meals, being careful about what you're eating, meaning a balanced diet, staying away from high sugar, high salt, high fat foods. But you need some water too every day. So, how do we fix this situation? How do we keep ourselves alert throughout the day? Well, you may have heard this a million times before, but a balanced diet is what keeps you alert throughout the day. Eating your 3 meals a day, having nutritious snacks in between, are also helpful at keeping you alert. Many people rely on caffeine to get a boost, especially early in the day. Some people even have caffeine throughout the day because they feel they need it. But what happens is that too will put you on a roller coaster of mood changes. So, limiting the amount of caffeine in your diet, especially if you are caffeine sensitive, is something you need to do. You need to have about 6 to 8 cups of fluids a day. That can be a combination, mostly water and perhaps some low fat milk would be a good suggestion. You need to have complex carbohydrates. Look at the examples here: whole wheat bread, cereal, crackers, and pasta. You do need some starchy vegetables, such as potatoes, and you need legumes, which are beans. These provide protein in your diet without the fat. And you need to have lots of non starchy vegetables, leafy green vegetables, carrots, those types of things that you might put in a salad, and fruit every day. So, what if you don't have any energy today? You need to get your body fueled properly with regular meals and snacks. Eat small meals and snacks throughout the day. Food is burned when you have a constant supply of energy, and that will prevent fatigue. What kinds of foods reduce stress? We all need to know more about this. A fresh fruit salad would be probably one of the best things you could have, or a vegetable bean soup, especially if you make it yourself because you can control the sodium in it. But the combination of the vegetables and the beans will give you lots of energy. About trying some low fat tortilla chips and a fat free refried beans or salsa. This is also a great snack. Popcorn that is not loaded with salt and butter is also a good snack that helps reduce some stress. You can always go to those raw veggies and a low fat dip. This is a wonderful snack to take to work with you. Or how about some salt free pretzels? How about some breakfast choices that are really going to get you started during the day? A whole grain cereal with low fat milk and some fresh fruit or fresh fruit juice would be a wonderful pick. However, peanut butter, because it has lots of protein in it, and put that on some whole grain toast would make a great start to your day as well. Some people like to have cottage cheese. Again, we have protein in our cottage cheese and the calcium we need too, and some fresh fruit to start the day. Today, smoothies are so popular, and a smoothie made with yogurt and fresh fruit would be delicious for your day. Again, you have protein, you have calcium, and you have the fruit as well. My favorite is oatmeal, which I tend to eat probably just about every day, or another hot cereal that is multigrain or whole grain, and make that with low fat milk and include some fruit. Yogurt is always good with a low fat granola and some dried fruit. This makes a great breakfast too. Or treat yourself to eggs with whole grain toast and juice for breakfast. How are we going to make a plan to change our mood so that we don't have mood swings and we can get through the day in the most efficient way possible? You want to have regular meals at regular meal times, whatever works for you, and snacks. And you do want to eat breakfast. This is the most important meal of the day. It really gets you started, it gets you ready to go to work and do what you have to do. You want to make sure that your meals have an adequate amount of complex carbohydrates and protein. Because remember, this helps to make the balanced diet. You need to have fluid every day. Water should be your choice drink throughout the day, especially at work. But you can also have some low fat milk, but predominantly you do need some water in your diet. Watch out for that caffeine because that really sets you on the roller coaster of moods. So limit the amount of caffeine you have. Eliminate caffeine products throughout the day. You also want to be sure to limit the amount of sugar, candy, and sweets and keep it to a minimum. And the same thing with high fat fried foods. You want to keep them to a minimum too. It's always important to limit the amount of salt in your diet and not add additional salt to foods. The best guidance comes from choosemyplate.gov. There are lots of guidelines there and showing you portion sizes about making your best choices for food. We also have some of this information included in our Lunch and Learn at Work series. So take some time, think about this, try to integrate some changes into your lifestyle to make you a healthier person that doesn't have to deal with mood swings and highs and lows throughout your day. Thank you for participating in today's Lunch and Learn session. We hope to see you again.